Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. In the previous class, we were discussing about the 73rd Amendment, and we have seen that under this 73rd Amendment, the Panchayati Raj institution was set up, and this was for rural areas. And in this, there was a three-tier structure was adopted, which was Gram Panchayat at the village level, Panchayat Samiti or block uh, Taluka Panchayat or Mandal Panchayat at the Mandal level, and then at the apex there was a Jila Panchayat, which covered the rural areas of the district. And besides, we have also seen that under the 73rd Amendment, elections have been made compulsory and mandatory, and that should happen on the interval of 5 years. And then we saw that there is also provision for reservation not only for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward caste, but other backward classes, but the reservation is also for the women. And moreover, what we see that this reservation is not only for the ordinary members in panchayat. Ordinary membership, the reservation is not only for the ordinary membership, but also to the position of chairperson or adhikshas at all the three level. And this made a difference because of it has made possible the women empowerment, and the condition of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe has also improved because of this provision. And now, besides, we have also discussed that in the 11th schedule of the constitution, this transfer of subjects. There are 29 subjects are mentioned in the 11th schedule, and it is the responsibility of the state government to transfer the subjects from these 29 subjects to the local government, to the Panchayati Raj institutions. And we have discussed the important subjects which are listed in the 11th schedule, and Article 243G has also been discussed. And after that, we were discussing that how, because of diversity, because of presence of tribal population in some of the areas, what happened in the 73rd Amendment, that its provisions were not made applicable to those areas which are inhabited by the Adivasi population, because in order to maintain their diversity. But decentralization was also important. So in 1996, a separate act was passed which extended the provision of the panchayat system to these areas. But in these areas, there some changes has been made, like Gram Sabha are given more powers. And the elected village panchayats have to get the consent of the Gram Sabha in taking many decisions, so that the desire of the people should prevail. Okay, and now we will discuss state election commissioners. What we find that before 73rd Amendment, there was no regular elections were held for rural local bodies or urban local bodies. For any local bodies, there was no regular elections held. And in that situation, what happened that if any state was conducting the election, then this election was performed by the state administration only. And this state administration was under the state government. So there was not any independent authority for conducting the elections to the local bodies. As we have seen that in order to conduct the election of the parliament and state legislature, our constitution has provided for a election commission, for an election commission, and it has been given very important powers, and its independence has been maintained. So now in 73rd Amendment, we have seen that the office of the State Election Commissioner is created, and now the election to the panchayats are the responsibility of this State Election Commissioner, and this State Election Commissioner is autonomous, just like Election Commissioner of India. It is an autonomous body, and the state, but you must remember that the State Election Commissioner is an independent officer and is not linked to, or nor is this office under the control of the Election Commission of India. The State Election Commissioner is not related to the Election Commission of India. It is an autonomous body and it is responsible to conduct the elections to the local bodies. Okay, so in this way, in order to conduct the election regularly and in a proper manner, this State Election Commissioner was the post of State Election Commissioner was created by the 73rd Amendment. Not only this, we see that State Finance Commission has also been given a place in the amendment. We see that it is expected from the state government. It is the duty of the state government to appoint a State Finance Commission once in 5 years. So, this State Finance Commission, what is the tenure of the State Finance Commission? It is 5 years and it is appointed by the state government. And what is the function of the State Finance Commission? The function is to examine the financial position of the local government. What is their financial position? What are they supposed to do? What are their responsibilities? What are their functions? And do they have required resources? Do they have required fund for the fulfillment of that responsibility? So it review the distribution of revenues between the state and local government. First of all, it review the distribution of revenues between the state and the local government on the one hand, and on the other hand it also review the distribution of revenue between rural and urban local government. So first of all, there is a need to review the distribution of resources, the distribution of revenue between state and local body. Then there are two parts in the local body, that is urban and rural. So it is also to be reviewed that the distribution of revenue is done effectively or not between the rural body and the urban body. So this innovation ensures that allocation of funds to the rural local government will not be a political matter. It should not become a political matter, as we have seen in the matter of states. What happens that when there is a same party at the center and in the state, then the funds are allocated very easily. The state get aid and financial assistance very easily. But when there is opposition party is ruling in the state, then the problem arises and it becomes a political matter. So in order to stop this politics, this State Finance Commission has been created by the 73rd Amendment. Now we will see the 74th Amendment. I told you earlier also that this 74th Amendment, it deals with the urban local bodies. Now we have some confusion regarding urban area. How to identify a small urban area? A very big city like Mumbai, Kolkata, we can identify big cities very easily. But when there is a small urban area is involved, then it is difficult to identify them, because these areas are lying between a village and a town. So what happened? The Census of India defines an urban areas as having. Those areas will be considered as urban area according to the census of India. Which area will be considered as urban area? Which has a minimum population of 5,000. At least 5,000 population honi chahiye. At least 75% of male working population should be engaged in non-agricultural occupation. Okay. So if most of the people are engaged in agricultural occupation, it means we are talking about rural area. So now we are in the urban area. So the minimum population should be 5,000 and at least 75% of male working population should be engaged in non-agricultural occupation. And what should be the density of population? The density of population should be at least 400 square per square kilometer, 400 persons per square kilometer. So these are the important things. Then density is should be 400 persons per square kilometer. So these are the three criteria which has been set by the census of India. And we see that according to the census of 2011, about 31% of India's population lives in urban areas. So 31% of India's population lives in urban areas. Now we will see that under the 74th Amendment, only the structure of urban local body is different from rural local bodies. Other than structure, everything is similar. Like direct, there is provision for direct election, not only direct but also regular and mandatory election. Then there is provision for reservation, just like in rural areas, in rural local bodies, urban local bodies has also provision for reservation. Then transfer of subjects, for the purpose of transfer of subject, it has the function, the subjects are listed in the 12th schedule of the constitution. In the matter of rural local bodies, the subjects were listed in 11th schedule, and now for urban areas the subjects are listed in 12th schedule, and it is the duty of the state government to transfer the subjects from this 12th schedule of the constitution to the urban local bodies. So everything is similar. Then state election commission, then state finance commission, all are similar in the 74th amendment as we saw in the 73rd amendment, but the structure is different, of course. According to this 74th amendment, there are three categories of urban local bodies. Though it is not given in your book, but you must have this much of knowledge about urban local bodies. So there are three categories of urban local bodies. The first is Mahanagar Nigam. Mahanagar Nigam is municipal corporation. Okay. Then the second is Nagar Palika, or it is also called municipality. And the third is Nagar Panchayat. Okay. So this Mahanagar Nigam or municipal corporation, it is for the big cities. Mahanagar Nigam is for big cities. We can say Maha का मतलब क्या हुआ बड़ा. So Mahanagar Nigam is for big cities. Mahanagar Nigam is called a municipal corporation. And what will be the criteria of big city? Criteria is population. If the urban areas which is having a population of more than 1 million, that will be considered for municipal corporation. And we see that municipal corporations enjoy a greater deal of fiscal autonomy and functions, because they are regulating the big cities, And then there are Nagar Palika. The Nagar Palika mm, is for smaller cities. The city with population of 1 lakh is suitable for Nagar Palika or municipality or municipal council. It is also called municipal council. So municipalities, they have less autonomy, smaller jurisdiction, and they have to deal with the state government through the municipalities only. Okay. So first is Mahanagar Nigam or municipal corporation. Then second is Nagar Palika or municipality, and the third is Nagar Panchayat. And we will see about this Nagar Panchayat. So, Nagar Panchayats are for those settlements which we can say that they are in transition. They are transforming from rural to urban. And these urban centers which have more than 11,000 and less than 25,000 population is classified as a nagar, and for these nagars there is provision for nagar panchayat. So in this way we see that all these provisions were made under amendment 74th amendment for urban local bodies which are collectively called Nagar Palikas. Now we have seen the provisions of the 73rd and 74th amendment. Now we will see the implementation, how the provisions of these amendments have been implemented. We have seen that the amendments were passed in the year 1992, and then 1 year time, the period of 1 year was given to the state government to implement these amendments. And accordingly, we see that all states have passed legislation to implement the provisions of 73rd and 74th amendment. And if we consider up to the year 2004, we will see that during this 10-year period, uh, most states have at least 2 rounds of election to the local bodies. During this 10-year period, 2 rounds of election has been done in almost all the states. But there are some states which have gone for 3 elections, like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan. In these states, there are 3 elections within the period of 10 years because they have started early. Now, we can see some data regarding these local bodies. You can see it is written here that today there are more than 600 Jilla Panchayats. Number of Jilla Panchayats is 600, and block panchayats are 6,000, and gram panchayats are 2,40,000. So these are the we can say achievements. Okay, so this is about rural area, and in cities we see there are over 100 city corporations, that is municipal corporation, 1,400 town municipalities, which is for the smaller cities, and over 2,000 nagar panchayats. So over 100 municipal corporation, around 1,400 municipalities, and over 2,000 nagar panchayats. More than 32 lakh members are elected to these bodies every 5 years. Elections are done on every 5 years, and total members who are elected to these bodies, their number is 32 lakh. And in these 32 lakh, we see that 13 lakh are women. And in the state assemblies and parliament put together, we have less than 5,000 elected representatives. If we see the number of MPs and number of MLAs in all the states of India, we find that their total number is just 5,000. And in this local bodies, we see the number of representatives is 32 lakh. And in these 32 lakh, 13 lakhs are women. So this is much more democratic. This is the decentralization of power. This is the participation of people. Actually, people are taking part in the process of government. They are taking part in the decision making. So this is the achievement of our local government. With local bodies, the number of elected representatives have increased significantly. Democracy is all about elections. The number of elected representative is more. It means that our democracy is becoming stronger. So this is these local bodies are responsible for making our democracy stronger. And for this, how this local bodies became stronger because of this 73rd and 74th amendments. They have created uniformity in the structure of Panchayati Raj and Nagarpalika institution across the country. Even before 73rd and 74th amendment, there were local bodies in India, but there was lack of uniformity. Now their structure is uniform all over India. In Panchayati Raj, there is three-tier structure. In Nagarpalika institution also we see that there is three-tier structure, and this structure is uniform for the whole country. So the presence of these local institutions is by itself a significant achievement and would create an atmosphere and platform for people's participation in government. So this is actual democracy. This is, we can say, democracy, we can see democracy with our eyes through these local bodies because people are directly participating in the process of government. So these are the positive points of having these local bodies, and this is not only in the constitution, these are not only the provisions of the constitution, but in actual practice we are seeing all these things are happening. There are 32 lakhs elected representatives in the local level. That is the one of the greatest achievement of our democracy. Then next we will see that the provision for reservation for women at panchayats and nagarpalika has ensured the presence of a significant number of women in local bodies. This is a very significant provision because we have seen that the women organization have struggled a lot for getting this reservation of seats at the parliament level, but the bill was moved, but it could not be passed by the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So what we were not able to achieve at the national level, we achieved it at the local level. And in local level, we see that because of this provision for reservation has actually make the women empowered. They are actually exercising the power. They are actually using the power because this reservation is not only for the membership, it is also applicable for the position of sarpanch and adhyaksh. So what we find that a large number of women elected representatives have come to occupy the position of Sarpanch and Adhyaksh. So this is the most important thing, that the provision which is made for the reservation for women, that reservation is not only for the ordinary membership but also for the Sarpanch and Adhyaksh. So now the women are in the position of occupying this post of Sarpanch and Adhyaksh. And this is making not only the women empowered, but this is changing the whole society. We see that there are at least 200 women Adhyakshas in Jilla Panchayats. You can see the number. 200 women Adhyakshas are there in Jilla Panchayats. Another 2000 women who are president of the block or Taluka Panchayat, and 80,000 women Sarpanchas in Gram Panchayat. So just see the number. How great is the number of women Sarpanchs. So this is definitely going to change the society in positive direction, and actually it is happening. Now we will see that in Nagar Palikas also there are women mayor. You can see there are more than 30 women mayor in municipal corporations. Over 500 women adhyakshas of town municipalities, and nearly 650 Nagar Panchayats headed by women. So women have gained more power and confidence by asserting control over resources. Now they are they are exercising the power, they are having the resources. And what we see that their presence in these institutions has given many women a greater understanding of the working of politics. The involvement of women in political matter have increased, and this is a very good sign for the society. In many cases, they have brought a new perspective and greater sensitivity to discussion at local bodies. In many cases, women were unable to assert their presence or were mere proxies for the male members of their family who sponsored their election. Such instances, however, are becoming fewer. So what we find is that many times it is said that whenever a woman candidate wins the election and starts holding a position, what is said by the system, we consider it that the woman is only the face. Actual work is done by the male member. She is only there. She is only there to make her presence feel, but actually she is not doing anything. All the decisions of her post is being taken by the male members of her family. But now the situation are changing. These type of cases are becoming fewer, and we see that the women are actually using the power. They are actually exercising the power of their post. They are not the puppet of the male members of their family. So these are the changes which are coming because of these local bodies. We see that in the 73rd and 74th amendment, there is a provision also for the reservation for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and the reservation of seat for other backward class has been left for the state. The state will decide if they feel that there is need to reserve seats for backward castes, then they can reserve the seat. And we find that most of the states have made a provision to reserve seats for these OBCs. We see that in our population, the percentage of scheduled caste is 16.2%. The percentage of scheduled tribes is 8.2%. And in urban local bodies, we see that 6.6 lakh elected members are belonging to these two communities. In urban and rural, both the local bodies, 6.6 lakh elected members are belonging to these communities. This has significantly altered the social profile of local bodies. Now, what we find that in our society, these scheduled caste and scheduled tribes people were considered were ill treated. They were considered untouchable also, and they have undergone so many exploitation by the society. But now all these things are changing, and these bodies have become more representative of the social reality they operate within. And what we find that it was not easy, this change, the social change which was caused because of this provision for reservation, was not easy to come. Many times there was tension and conflict. What happens that the dominant social group which controlled the village earlier do not wish to give up their power. And usually what happened before this 73rd and 74th amendment, no scheduled caste person or scheduled caste or scheduled tribe person can become the member of panchayat or local bodies, because they were considered such a they were considered lower caste, and their condition was so poor that they cannot think of contesting the election and winning the election. But and in this situation, what happened that only the uh, upper caste people were controlling the village. They were in the position of panch and sarpanch. But when after this these amendments, when the reservation was started to be given to these SC and STs, then the whole situation changed. But because of this change, there was conflict. There was a struggle for power. But we see that there is an attempt to make democracy more meaningful and give power to those who did not enjoy it earlier. There is bound to be some conflict and tension in society. It is natural to have conflict, because the upper caste person, the people who are belonging to upper caste or the dominant social group, they are used to use power. They are used to be dominant. They are not there to be dominated. They are there to dominate. They are there to rule. They are not there to be ruled. But now, when the situation changed completely, now when the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes are getting reservation, and because of this provision of reservation, they are able to become the panchayat leaders. So this changing situation, it will naturally create tension and conflict, but this tension and conflict will subside with the time, and people had to accept all these things. So this is a very positive it is a very positive development of society because of this uh, system of reservation. Other things will be discussed in the next class.